Hey guys. All right, so Joel's here today. He's doing all the work right now.
I always do.
We just actually finished a live stream on our new community. If you guys aren't involved in our new community, I'll leave a link down below. I really should help him.
What?
Nothing. We are doing a fun project today, or at least starting it. We are building Daisy's milking stanchion. So she's only 5 weeks out from her due date, which means in about 6 weeks, I'll be milking a cow for the first time in my whole life. And Daisy and Ollie and Otis are having lots of fun, having full run of the pasture now. It's all green and grown in. All right, we're gonna get started. We're gonna build the base down here and then move it into the corral and build the rest in there. Trying to figure out how tall to make these posts. So I'm thinking if a 2x6 is going across the top, that's too tall.
All right. Well, here's the deal. If you're not careful standing here after we bring it down, you're going to whack your head on there. Might knock some sense into you.
So maybe it should be down like this. No.
Here's the deal. Let's leave it the way it is now. If you don't like it, we can always shrink it. If we put it like this and you go, no, that's not tall enough, guess what? We're buying more lumber.
Okay, that's good. This isn't lined up at all.
Then why did you just screw it in? Oh. So you put the camera where you can't see actually what you're doing.
It's a wide shot, it's not a close-up.
You could put a wide shot over here.
That's heavy. Come here, Daisy.
Put a picture of you on my sweatshirt.
Okay, so we're gonna see if we can get Daisy to go into the stanchion just right now, just for fun.
I'm gonna be trapped. Well, don't go in there.
She doesn't care at all. You can do it.
Like, yeah, no, not with you in there.
Come on. Good girl.
You're gonna eat it all before you're done. There you go.
Good girl.
You got enough room to walk past her too, so.
Yeah, that's probably gonna be too wide. She did it. She's just staying in there. Good girl, Daisy.
Oh, she just wants a belly rub. That's all she wants. That's all she wants. Big belly rub. That's all she's after.
Now we'll see how she gets herself out.
I will stool right here. Maybe she's like, yeah, you're not familiar yet. Back yourself out. That way. Back yourself out. Straight. There you go. Good job.
Scar's cozied up on the couch. Hey, Scar. You still sleepy? Been a long night? It's a couple days later, actually. Now, I haven't told you yet, but we actually have a second barn cat. We got her, what was it, a couple months ago, I guess. And she went through the quarantine process, and you'll notice that Scar's not on the roof. So we found out from the lady that brought the second cat that a combination of orange cats and being male means they're horrible hunters. And as you know, if you've been here any time at all, Scar spends all of his time on the roof. Well, the new cat, Luna, who is a black and white female, she has kind of kicked Scar's butt into gear because he never goes on the roof anymore. He's following her around, and they're out hunting together. So I've actually noticed, I've seen them catch gophers and mice, and I have not had to put any gopher traps out in quite a while, so I'm ecstatic about that. She's a little more hard to get on film because she is a little more sneaky, and whenever I see her, I don't have my camera. But I will try to get some footage of her for this video so you can see her. But again, her name is Luna, cute little black and white. It actually rained last night, which I wasn't expecting. I hadn't looked at the weather in a couple of days because it had been pretty consistent. So Joel and I got to a certain point building the stanchion and then had to quit because it was the end of the day. So I'll show you what we've done. Oh, Bella already. It barely rained and she's already muddy. Bella. Oh, I have to show you what she's digging. So I thought this was bad. Now we've got this. So this is all fill dirt, so it's real easy for her probably to dig. Oh, good, and now we've got one down there too. What am I going to do with you? Anyway, back to the stanchion. Morning, everybody. So looks okay from one angle if you don't look too close. But from this angle over here, it gets a little wonky. Now, I'm not sure what happened. We thought the best thing to do was to build it over on the asphalt there on Noah's basketball/golf court, because it's asphalt, it's flat, it's level, and then take it apart and bring it back over here and put it together. Well, we did that, but the way it came together is not as good as the way it looked over there. Now, part of it is because the ground is uneven, and I'm going to have to kind of put something under there to lift that front side up a little bit, but it's also a little bit wonky vertically, so I don't know. We'll figure it out. I mean, it will do the job. Couple things though with it. So we still have to do the head gate. It's kind of the V thing with the moving piece of wood that holds her head in place. It's also a little wider than I might want it. I'm not going to worry about it right now. It's starting to rain again. But she can almost turn herself around and come out rather than going straight in and backing straight out. And if I'm sitting right here milking her, she can also scoot her body over so I can't reach her. So we'll see what happens. But I may have to put a thicker rail here that kind of brings it in a little bit. But if you did see, she went right in when I was holding her mineral bucket. She followed me right in, and so that was great. I was surprised that she went in just that easily. Now, I've tried to feed her in there, and she won't go in for just hay. All right, well, you guys are standing out in the rain anyway, so let's just let you out. Hello, you dirty dog. Want some breakfast? I'm going to give you a quick update on the vineyard. I checked it yesterday, and every single grapevine has put out new life. Green stalk's looking good too. So the Thompson seedless in this row, they already had leaves, but they're growing even more. But all the little dead sticks, every single one of them has some growth. Wait for this airplane to pass. Okay, finishing the vegetable garden clean out is on tomorrow's list. We've got 2 volleyball games of Noah's to go to today. Yesterday I thinned the peach trees. I left about 20 on. You can see the ones I took off down there. I left about 20 on, and I spaced them pretty far apart. I may have to do some more. Now this tree being brand new and this tiny, it might thin itself to 0. I don't know. But I thought I'd give it at least a fighting chance by doing some of the thinning myself. You know, the palm trees really take away from the English effect. What am I going to do? It's not my property. This red bud is putting out. So I think I might be making a big change up here already. I planted these pear trees, one here, one right here, one right there. And I had this cherry tree, and I had a cherry tree over here. Hope I'm not making you dizzy. That one actually died. And a lot of you guys warned me not to have fruit over flowers because the fruit would drop and it would just get messy. I didn't care so much about that. However, I want a little more spring color up here, and the pear trees are white, and they don't produce as much flower as maybe a ornamental pear or a non-fruiting pear that's just for the flowers, or even a cherry tree. And I think I would rather have that up here. I've got an orchard now. I didn't have that when I planted these. These trees are already getting some size on them. The cherry tree's too big. It's already too big to move, so it's here. These 2 pear trees, however, I think I'm going to take them out. I have some trees that I've been wanting to have for a couple of years up here or somewhere, but I think up here would be the best. I don't even remember the name of them right now. I can never remember it. I'll put it on the screen. We went to Disneyland last week, and around the castle, they've got these trees that every spring are just, there's no other word for it than glorious. And so I'm thinking that out here where the pear trees are, so on either side of the cottage have those big pink trees, and then we've got the pink and purple red buds up front. And then the cherry tree can stay, it'll be white, and that's fine. And I've also, way over there, right there, I have a baby crabapple tree, so that's white as well. So I don't need 2 more white flowering trees. So yeah, I think I've made the decision. I'm going to remove those pear trees, and I'm going to try to replant them. But I got to do it soon because they're just now coming out of dormancy. But then get those other trees, and I think I'll like that better. Hey guys. I can't believe in a little over a month I'm going to be milking her. It's so exciting. I remember about a year after we moved in here when we first started thinking about the possibility of a dairy cow and thinking about how long it would be until we could do that. And then when we found Daisy's breeder and we went and met Daisy's mom and then thought about, okay, well, she'll have to be bred, and then she'll have to carry the baby 9 months, and then we'll have to have Daisy for a year. It just seems so far out to wait for that fresh milk. And now it's a month away. I mean, time flies, it really does, but it's exciting. It's the next morning. It rained pretty much all day yesterday. And again, I was not expecting that at all. Looking out here at the pasture, you probably can't tell on camera, but they've taken a lot of the height down. If I get a close-up, you can kind of tell. But what they're doing is they're eating all the good stuff, and kind of the more weedy stuff they're leaving and then just moving on. So the weeds are going to continue to grow and then set seed, and then they'll eventually take over the grass part. So I don't want that. So what I'm going to eventually do, not too far from now probably, is some kind of rotational grazing where you set up a paddock of, like electrical netting, and then they stay in that paddock for a day, 2 days, however long it takes them to get all of the material eaten down to the right height. And then you just move the paddock for the next 2, 3, 4 days, whatever it is. And they take that down. And then as you move along the pasture, the old parts that they've done is having a chance to continue to grow up. So that's good pasture management. And that's how, regenerative farms do it when they have a huge pasture. So I wasn't sure on this small pasture, micro pasture, really what it is, if how it was going to work. But that's just the way it's going to have to work. I'm going to have to do that. And I probably don't have to be as regimented as, people with multiple animals. This is mainly going to be Daisy. The sheep, eventually, as we move along, they're going to get the orchard and the vineyard for their grazing. Hi, Ollie. You need to be sheared. You need a haircut, buddy. You need a haircut. So Daisy has been in here, and she will go in here for her minerals, which she loves. I just put the minerals in the bucket here and then hang it on the side. I have to kind of coax her in like you saw me do the first day. But I want her to feel comfortable getting in here. And I think right now she doesn't feel comfortable because she doesn't know how to get out of it very easily. She doesn't know just to back straight out. And so she tries to turn around, and it gets all weird, and it shakes this and makes noise, and she doesn't like that. They're ready to go out. There you go. And then here's Bella in her cave that she dug. So what I'm going to do right now, real quick, is just take this rail off. I'm not even sure that we need the rail. We'll be milking on this side. And so she's going to have the head gate in here that's going to keep her head eating. And so I'm thinking she's probably not going to come this way. If anything, she'll scoot away from us, which is that way. And so what we're probably going to have to do, this ended up being a little wider than it needed to be. I'll probably have to build a rail in here to make her move this way toward us. I seriously doubt we're going to need this. And we put it on temporarily anyway. So 2 screws and that'll be off. All right, that was easy. So tonight when we feed her, we'll see how that works, and I'll bring you with me. So I've gotten the question, why don't I ever show feeding Bella? I always show feeding all the rest of the animals. The reason I don't show it is because when I have shown it, there's always comments. And I get it, because there's a lot more people who know how to feed, or think they know how to feed a dog, than a sheep or cow or whatever. And so people feel more free with their comments. But it doesn't matter if I'm feeding her, and I've done all these on camera at one point or another in the beginning. Fed dog food, high quality by the way, raw meat, chicken, raw eggs from the coop. There's always comments about how awful that is for dogs and why I shouldn't do that. So I just choose to leave that part out and leave it to your imagination. I just fed Bella, and you can think I fed her whatever you think is the proper diet. The roses in the cottage garden are looking great. You remember just a few weeks ago I pruned them all back. And they look so healthy, so lush. Tons of new, let's focus, there we go. Tons of new buds. We've also got sweet peas getting ready to bloom. Remember, these were just the volunteer sweet peas. Just put these teepees up for them. And the clematis is just really getting ready to open. Look at that. This will be the first year I've gotten blooms off of this, even though it's been here for, well, 2 or 3 years actually. So I want to go over to the vegetable garden and see how wet it is. That's the job that really needs to be done today. I started cleaning that out last week, and then we had to go out of town, and then it rained, and then it rained again. I love when there's just little sunny spots on the mountains. They just are highlighted and everything else is in shadow of the clouds. Anyway, focus. Ugh, this is such a mess. Such a mess. It does look a little muddy, but honestly mainly that's the pass, and I'm not going to be stepping in the beds, so I think we could get out here and get some work done today. Okay, no more procrastinating. It's time to get this garden cleaned up once and for all. I gotta plant stuff. So it's 52 degrees right now. 59 is the high today, so nice and cool. Feels kind of cold right now, but I know once I get working I won't need a jacket, so I'm not even gonna bother putting one on. By the end of this week, so in 4 days, we're gonna be up to like 84 degrees, so that'll be nice. I have decided not to remove these potatoes, even though they look bad. I'm gonna give them a couple more weeks and see if I can get whatever potatoes are under there to get some size on them. I don't need all this area for planting right at the moment. I'll plant some of the heat lovers in these beds, the ones that are too early right now, like well, peppers are inside still for a while, so those, or okra. Anyway, I'm still procrastinating. Let's get busy. All right, so in cleaning out this bed, I found a lot of snails. Got those. But I've also found that the bindweed issue that I've been trying to get on top of for 2 years now is just slowly overtaking me. The problem is when you have crops in this bed, the bindweed goes crazy under them, then starts poking up through them. It's only then that you see you have it. And it's very difficult to get the whole root, especially when it's wound its way through this entire bed. And now it's starting in the second bed over here. And I have it down here. So I'm probably going to end up just doing something that I have not done the entire time we've been at this house. And this is starting our 4th season here. And that is use some kind of herbicide to get rid of it. That being said, I'm not going to be using a sprayer. I'm going to go through, I'm going to pull all the bindweed that I can find, and then I'm going to get the least toxic herbicide that I can find that will kill bindweed, and I'm going to use a paintbrush, dip it in, and paint some of the leaves that are just, once I've pulled them all, they'll just be fresh coming out of the ground. Just paint some of those leaves, and hopefully that'll take care of it. I'm not going to be indiscriminately spraying everything. Number one, because I don't want to kill all the rest of the crops I have, and number two, I don't want herbicide drift going on everything or even just seeping into the soil more than has to. So I know there's going to be, the purists out there, and I'm almost one of those. So, you're preaching to the choir here, but there comes a point I've got 2 beds down there full of Bermuda grass that I was pulling all spring and summer last year, and it just took over. I'm not going to be using herbicide on that because I think the only thing that gets rid of that is Roundup, and I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to be solarizing those beds and not growing in them. But with the bindweed, I would probably, I can, just from here, I can see it in 4 other beds. That would take away half of my growing space this year. So do I want to use herbicide? No. But sometimes it becomes necessary to do that if you want to keep growing. It's a judgment call you have to make for yourself. I'm not going to judge you if you do it, however you do it, even if you use Roundup. I would say don't, but if you have to and you've got an issue that warrants it, hate supporting that company, but I'm not going to judge you for it. So I know you'll judge me for it. Not you specifically, but that other person. But that's okay. For the most part, I do everything I can organically, and that's 99.9% of everything around here. Like I said, 4 years here, never used any kind of pesticide, herbicide, but judiciously, that's what's going to happen right now. Well, not right now. I have to research and find some that I will use. Now, I could have hidden this. You don't probably, if you don't watch every single video of mine, you probably don't even know that I had a bindweed issue. And so I could have put the herbicide on there. You'd have been none the wiser. But for me, it's important to be honest with you about everything that I do, even if some people won't like it, because sometimes things are necessary that go against what I believe, really. So anyway, I'm not going to make excuses for it. I'm not going to keep talking about it. Those of you who will judge are going to judge, and those of you who aren't, good for you. Now, I am going to make the best of the Bermuda grass situation because I know 3 little guys, well, 2 guys and 1 girl, who will love this. Let's go give it to them. Hi, Bella. Where's everybody? Daisy! By the way, she knows her name now. When she was out here the other day, I called her and she looked. And then I thought I'd try calling her Bridget, Sam, Sylvia. Didn't look at any of those, but then I called her name again and she looked. Daisy! I didn't say Pugsley. Here she comes. Good girl. making lots of animals happy today. Turned out to be a really beautiful day. Cool, but that's good. Especially when you're working outside. It's the next day and we're getting ready to go to Noah's game. And I just wanted to kind of review what I did here in the garden yesterday. First of all, it just makes me so happy to see that there's just no mess and the beds are ready to plant my summer crops. So, before, most of the mess, I'd say 75% of the mess was in the paths. Just junk that I had pulled out, stuff that was growing that shouldn't have been there. So just cleaning the paths would have been great, but I still needed room in the beds and there was a lot of stuff that just needed to be taken out. I did leave the basil. I just cut it way back. And this is African blue basil. It's kind of a Tulsi type basil. I cut back the pepper plants because they were just growing crazy because they were trying to get through the basil and they were just stretching for light. So I just cut them way back and they'll put out again in no time. I've got some onions coming up in here. Of course, I left those. What is that? That's like a cosmos that's like dwarfed. Anyway, dill and fennel and nasturtiums, I left those. I had said I was going to leave all the potatoes. I actually didn't. I left the ones that looked decent. That, like that. Any that had disease, I was done with them. I took them out. I got maybe 12, 15 potatoes that were about this big. The eggplant, I chopped way back. If you remember how you saw on the video, I still had eggplant on there. And then right here is some cabbages. Now look, this branch and root got left in and it's growing some new plants. That was planted in fall of 23. I harvested the cabbage a year ago, and then I just cut them off at the ground. That one I missed a little bit, but that one didn't do anything. However, this past year, I had a cabbage that grew back from a root just like that, and I let it grow to see what would happen, and I think it was one of the most beautiful, perfect cabbages I've ever grown. It was beautiful. And so I just harvested that about a month ago from fall of 23. So I'm going to leave these here and see what happens. Now I'm always preaching how difficult it is to germinate carrot seeds. And a lot of you do the same, and I have given probably 4 different ways to baby them and get them to germinate. Well, of course, they're proving me wrong, because here's a bunch of carrots just coming up in the path. So I left them. I'll harvest them in a couple of months and then that path will be clean. So down here in these beds, I weed eated this entire area, and it's mostly Bermuda grass. And so I'm going to be solarizing this whole area. I'm going to dig out the yarrow. This bed does not have it, and the end bed doesn't have it. So it's going to be mainly these 2 beds and kind of part of the path. We'll see how that works. But basically, I'm going to cover the 2 beds with black plastic all summer long. And here we get into the, the 90s in the summer. And so that sun will be beating down on there all day long. I'm going to take the drip tape out of there so it's not watered. And by fall, fingers crossed, the Bermuda grass should be gone. So I already know this is a long video because I did the full edit of everything but this portion here. So I'm not going to make this any longer. I'm so glad to have this done, and I will be planting this up next week on probably Next Level Gardening. So if you don't follow me over there, follow me over there, and I'll see you guys next time.